Thank you very much. A very good morning, Your Excellencies, directors, and senior officials of the ministry. Your Excellencies, gentlemen of the press, because you are also Excellencies, you are our partners. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with a deep sense of honor and responsibility that I announce Nigeria's readiness to host the West Africa Economic Summit 2025 under the distinguished leadership of His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. The summit will take place from the 20th to the 21st of June of this month, 2025, at the Abuja International Conference Center. That's the newly renovated Abuja International Conference Center. This important regional gathering themed West Africa Economic Summit, unlocking trade and investment opportunities in the region, is designed to serve as a strategic platform for shaping the economic future of our region. West Africa Economic Summit 2025 will convene heads of state, ministers, private sector leaders, development partners, and youth innovators from across West Africa and beyond. As a government, we recognize that sustainable development, peace, and prosperity in West Africa are best achieved through enhanced regional cooperation and economic integration. Economic integration requires the active partnership of the private sector and cannot be exclusively state-centric. WAES 2025 reflects this conviction. And the strategic objectives of the summit are as follows. WAES 2025 is a solutions-oriented initiative that seeks to establish a harmonized trade policy framework to eliminate barriers to intra-African commerce and investment, mobilize resources for critical infrastructure, energy, and logistics to improve the free movement of goods and people, promote inclusive economic growth with particular attention to empowering women, youth, and small and medium enterprises, enhance West Africa's economic resilience through innovation, institutional reforms, and strategic global partnerships. And the summit highlights will feature the following key components: a presidential roundtable and CEO forum, a high-level dialogue between heads of state and business leaders, culminating in a joint communique that articulates shared regional priorities and a concrete plan of action. The WAES deal room, there's going to be a deal room, and that's essentially a platform for business to government, B2G, and business to business, B2B transactions aimed at securing landmark investment deals across strategic sectors, including infrastructure, agribusiness, renewable energy, and digital finance. West Africa Business Expo, and this is an exhibition of over 100 investment-ready SMEs and regional development projects, fostering cross-border business linkages, and reinforcing the role of the private sector in advancing the AFCFTA, that's the African Continental Free Trade Area. And then youth and cultural empowerment series, featuring events such as the West Africa Art Exhibition, Innovation Pitch, and Youth Leadership Panels. These will showcase the region's rich creative energy and the ingenuity of our youth. I move on to Nigeria's enduring commitment. WAES 2025 is a reaffirmation of Nigeria's commitment to the ECOWAS vision of a borderless, peaceful, and economically integrated West Africa. It aligns seamlessly with continental objectives under the Agenda 2063 of the African Continental Free Trade Area. The summit will address the facilitation of cross-border trade and logistics, the advancement of regional macroeconomic stability and value chains, and the reinforcement of institutional cooperation, peace, and governance. As Minister of Foreign Affairs, I extend a warm invitation to regional leaders, continental institutions, development partners, private investors, and civil society actors to converge in Abuja for what will be a landmark moment in West Africa's economic evolution. But over and above my own invitation is, of course, Mr. President's invitation, as has been mentioned by the spokesperson. Mr. President has directed that special envoys are dispatched to his colleagues, other leaders in the region, and they have since delivered the invitations in person. Together, through WAES 2025, we take deliberate steps toward a prosperous, united, and globally competitive West Africa. Finally, thank you very much for your robust national and regional coverage so far, and that's why I refer to you as Your Excellencies also. And looking forward to your summit and post-summit coverage. Let's tell the world our story. Thank you very much. For the region, and that's the Economic Community of West African States. But there is precisely a reason why Mr. President chose to host a West Africa Economic Summit. So the invitation extends not just to ECOWAS and ECOWAS states, but indeed to all states, businesses, private sector, development finance institutions that pertain to the West African region. So the issue of legal framework is not there. The success of the event is what is going to sustain it, particularly since you have private sector involved. The whole idea is to partner with private sector to push integration, to support integration, instead of just leaving integration, regional integration to the states, to the governments. So it's going beyond that. And that is what is going to sustain it, because even outside of what is going on now with the governments, with the states, private sector is still doing business in the region. So it's just identifying that Mr. President is taking us back to the very founding moments and initiatives for regional integration. I look around, I see very young faces. Some of you will not know the name of Adebayo Adedeji, but definitely the directors know Adebayo Adedeji, Economic Commission of Africa, ECA, okay, ECA. And back then, when we had the Lagos Plan of Action, the whole idea was to create common markets. And this is where, this was the founding moment essentially of, was the strengthening of the regional economic communities, so that there will be regional integration and in turn there will be continental integration. So before you had the African Continental Free Trade Area, you had the, 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 the ideas, the concepts being propounded by the likes of Adebayo Adedeji back then. And they stood in contrast to the ideas of the Washington Consensus, where Bretton Woods was championing the confinement of African countries to the export of raw materials. And people like him were arguing to say, no, we want to add value, we want to manufacture, we want to improve our supply and value chains, and this is how we will create employment for our youth. This is how we will generate wealth, instead of us just being relegated to the export of raw materials for others. And whereas the Washington Consensus was saying, no, just stick to what you know and what you're good at. So President Tinubu is taking us back to those fundamental arguments and saying we must ensure that we do this. The reason why we have not been able to make as much progress as we should is because we have more or less allowed this thinking to prevail, whether by omission or commission, as we like saying. So this is fundamentally what he's trying to do, and he is saying private sector should be at the, a partner to governments. It's not just for governments to continue to push initiatives and create legal frameworks. No, let private sector participate. So essentially this is it, and of course there are others that are partnering. For instance, even the World Economic Forum is working with us on this, and we're also saying, the government is saying, instead of us always being invited to go to all these places for economic summits and conferences and what have you, why don't we show what we can do? And Nigeria is taking the lead in that, to show what it can do. And it's not that this is happening in a void or in a vacuum. There's already a lot of trade and investment and integration going on that has nothing to do with government. Private sector, business people, traders, they're doing their trade. But he's looking to identify with what they're doing and to support them, and to urge his colleagues to also give support to that. Now, with the question asked by Salisu, Voice of Nigeria, what about the grassroots? I've already started answering that. When we even do in my in what I read, we recognized SMEs. That's small and medium enterprises. When we talk about small and medium enterprises, we're not talking about just big people or government or big business. No, it's the small man, it's the small entrepreneur, it's the small trader that we're looking. So he and she are part of this conversation and part of this initiative to strengthen what they're doing and to promote them. With Oshaka's question, People's Daily, what are we doing towards attracting investment? This misses the point. It's not about attracting investment from outside the region. No, we're talking about regional integration. What we're doing with each other. How do we strengthen that so that we're trading more, so that the governments, the very governments in this region, are providing the necessary infrastructure, the necessary support, okay, the necessary policy frameworks to strengthen trade within the region and integration and the linkages. So government also understands that government cannot do it alone. There's a gap, even in funding, that private sector needs to step in to participate, to support, instead of us looking for countries or businesses outside of the region, outside of Africa, to come and invest. This is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about what we can do for ourselves. I'll stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I believe the first in this round is by Olayemi Eson. Spy TV, yes. Spy with an IE, not with a PY. Is this the first? Yes. In this format, I would say this is the first, because, as I said, this is the West Africa Economic Summit. There have been other economic events, of course, that have been organized by ECOWAS and indeed other bodies. So this is the first of this kind. Some of the countries are not into trading with Nigeria. I would disagree with that, because trade, we should not equate trade with membership of ECOWAS. Yes, there have been 3 countries in the region that have departed from ECOWAS. Well, it doesn't mean they're not trading with ECOWAS countries. It doesn't mean they're not trading with Nigeria. In fact, it doesn't even mean that they're not working with us on developing infrastructure, on peace and security, and so forth. If you take the example of our neighbor to the north, Niger Republic, we still have the Nigeria-Niger Joint Commission that is headed by an ambassador from this very building. It still continues on its mission to execute laudable projects between the 2 countries. It is located in Niamey. If you look at also what the ECOWAS Bank for investment, IBID is investment and development, correct? Yeah. They have invested over, I believe, $2 billion in the AES countries, in Burkina Faso, in Mali, in Niger, and they continue with their activities. Not to talk of course, the private sector and the small businesses, the cross-border trade that takes place between those countries and Nigeria and the region at large. So that is not the case. Then we have Asan Radio and TV. What makes it different? What makes it different is we are focusing on results. So it's action oriented, which is why we even have a deal room that is going to be managed by the Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority, the Sovereign Wealth Fund. It is going to be run by it. There are other participants, so that conclusively there will be deals done right there and then. That's one, for instance. And the second, of course, what makes it different is, as I said, the emphasis on the private sector, emphasis on business, putting business first. It's not state-centric. It's not about governments getting together to talk to themselves. No. It is inviting private sector. It is inviting the youth, importantly, because we are a very youthful region. So you notice that we're talking about artists coming from different countries in the region. I'm sure you can get even names already of those that are participating. They will be showcasing their work there. So it's not just even about mainstream business, it's also about the arts, it's about cultural entrepreneurs that are going to be participating. And the last question by Raymond Eno, Paradise News, is about security. What are we doing with regards to security? Yes, for business to take place, to thrive, the environment must be secure. And this is precisely why we're bringing together governments and the private sector and business, government and business, so that government will hear from business their concerns and try and address some of those concerns right there and then. And of course, business will also listen to government and hear what they've been doing, because there's often a disconnect. Going back to, I think, the first question when someone said, what about the legal framework? Yeah. There's so many legal frameworks and policies that have been put in place. If you take, for instance, the West Africa Power Pool that is in place, there isn't enough information sometimes for players, for participants in the sector, in the power sector, electricity generation, transmission, distribution companies, to know the frameworks that are already in place that they can take advantage of. Case in point, people generating solar energy. Is there a framework that they can utilize to sell back to the pool? Because if you generate electricity more than what you need, the idea is these days you can even sell back to the grid and make money out of it, even as a household or a private individual. What are the frameworks that are already in place to be able to actualize that? How can they be improved? People, sometimes businesses don't have that information. So the idea is to be able to provide private sector with that information so that they can take advantage of the opportunities therein. So again, there's several initiatives that are already in place. You have the ECOWAS standby force. It is there to further strengthen security, the provision of security. And also, this sort of forum provides for a role for private sector to play and to even contribute towards security, because it's a collective effort. We shouldn't just leave everything to government or governments. Private sector can also support what the government is doing by way of funding, by way of technology, because don't forget we're going to have so many pioneers in the digital technology space that are going to be participating. The likes of, for instance, Money Point, that are today a unicorn. They're going to be, all these sort of players are going to be there. And it's not just Nigerian businesses, it is businesses from all across the region. Thank you. RPD, which some of you are aware we launched recently in partnership with the UNDP. And the whole idea is to create a template that is not going to be owned by Nigeria alone. It is to be owned by the entire region and all countries that decide to adopt it and utilize it to further strengthen institutions, to tackle the perennial challenges that are posed by misinformation and disinformation, to engage with civil society so that there is more understanding between governments and the people to further strengthen the social contract. So you can see that a lot is being done apart from just the issue of a kinetic approach. You know, there's so many issues, so many approaches, such as this regional partnership for democracy. I think this is the first time that you're seeing these sort of initiatives, you know, well thought out, original ideas being presented by the Tinubu administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. So we'll take
Provide this unequivocally. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, they're all invited. I'm just coming back from China, where there was a ministerial conference where I interacted with the ministers of foreign affairs of the three countries and presented them with invitations. And in addition to that, of course, Mr. President has extended invitations to their heads of state. So they are invited. They're very welcome. That's why it's the West Africa Economic Summit. They are part and parcel of West Africa. And they cannot, even if they've left ECOWAS, they cannot pack their load and move to North Africa or East Africa or Southern Africa or Central Africa. They are still part of West Africa, and they are our neighbors. So I hope that puts that to rest. Arise asked if this was modeled after the World Economic Forum, Davos. No, this is a novel, homegrown, African, original idea. We are focusing, this administration focuses on preferring homegrown solutions to our problem instead of copying and pasting what exists in other regions. And we feel that these are the sort of solutions that would work. And this is probably one of the reasons why we've been having the challenges that we're having, because there's a tendency to focus on copying and pasting. WEF, of course, like I said, because of their experience in hosting such huge summits, economic summits in particular, are working with us. They're providing the support that we ask for in terms of their organizational skills, but it's by no way modeled after WEF or just trying to emulate what they do, trying to copy what they do wholesale. With regards to SMEs, I believe if we look at the program, we'll see that there are a number of events specifically focusing on SMEs. So rest assured, they have a role to play. They are going to be fully engaged, and they are the main focus of the West Africa Economic Summit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very